Alright YouTubers, wanted to do another quick video for you. This is just going to be a brief review of the Howa 1500. This is a barreled action I picked up off of Brownells in 6.5 Creedmoor. It's for a budget long range build, just kind of a target planking gun. Haven't shot this gun yet, so I don't know what to expect as far as accuracy. I'll give you an update video when that happens, but I picked up an MDT LSS-XL Chassis for this particular build. I'm running the Luth AR MBA1 stock on it, and an ATI grip, which I had to modify, and I can talk about that a little bit. But one thing I wanted to show you today, there's not a lot of information on YouTube or out on the internet about how the Howa actions made up with the MDT chassis. There may be some of you out there looking to do the same thing for a budget rifle build, for a plinking build. I'd like to really recommend it at this point. Obviously, I haven't shot it yet, but I will soon, and I kind of want to go over the fit and feel at this point. That's the purpose of this video. So I'm going to show you this here, and if you've already noticed, one thing I'm going to talk to you about in this video is bedding. Obviously, you can see that I've glass bedded this action. And the reason I did, the MDT chassis, and the reason that I did that is that once I mated up the barrel and the action with this particular chassis, I wasn't overly pleased with the fit. I don't want to say that it was a bad fit. It actually fits well, but there was a fair amount of slop. And what I mean by slop is not necessarily side to side, but front to back. So once the action was in the chassis, without it being bolted down, of course, you could move the barrel back and forth, and I don't like that in my rifles. I don't like that movement, and I've built several guns so far that have really improved the accuracy on through bedding and removing that any chance for that action to move back and forth. And so, just to give you kind of a close-up of what I did here, it's not perfect. This is not my favorite bedding job that I've ever done, but it turned out pretty well. A little bit of a divot there. But essentially what I did is I did drill some holes down into the aluminum to allow the bedding to really grab a hold, and you can see evidence of that there. You can see where there's just a little bit of skim bedding on the bottom of the recoil lug recess there. You can see where I actually drilled those holes and the bedding sunk down in there. I wished I would have moved this forward just a little bit, but right here where the end of the bedding is actually where the end of the action ends and the barrel begins, and I didn't want any bedding touching the barrel whatsoever. And so I chose to end it right there. I probably should have built up a little bit bigger of a dam with my plasticine when I bedded this, and bedded it a little bit higher, all the way up into here. But I didn't want bedding oozing out all over the place, and so I kind of chose to do it just very lightly. There's a fair amount. You can see there's probably 3 mils worth of bedding material on top of this platform where the action rests. So that tells me that it definitely needed some bedding throughout here, and I probably could have bedded this whole rail and even this portion, but I don't think that's necessary because it's getting good contact here and it's getting good contact back here. So back at the rear area, kind of move the camera here and show you a little bit. Same thing. You can see where I drilled holes for the bedding compound to kind of stick and bed into there. I'm actually going to drill the action bolt hole out just a little bit better, so that there's no bedding compound in there. One thing that I found is that you don't want anything touching the action screws on the sides. You don't want the action screw to touch anything in that hole. So I'll drill that out a little bit, but you can see that there's a reasonable amount of bedding material, glass bedding material at the back of the tang here, which is perfect. This is what I wanted because I did not want that rifle moving back and forth in here. And so that kind of made it up and filled in that void right in there. And that's really what I was looking for, along with if the necessity, or if there needed to be any bedding material on top of this pillar, if you want to call it. But so kind of the purpose was to fill this void back here. You know, obviously skim bed this if it needed to be. There's a very, very small amount of material on top of there, little to none. Didn't really necessarily need any back there on that area, but I wanted to fill in that void to prevent the rifle from moving back and forth. And so far, it definitely fits like a glove. I did not put any tape around the recoil lug, so it is a little bit of a tight fit, but I prefer it just a little tight as long as there's no stress on the action. That's the important part. And so yeah, that's kind of it. I can make this up and show you real quick what it looks like. Stand by just for a second, and I will set the camera down here, hopefully so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And I apologize, I'm in my sweatpants and sweatshirt today. It's kind of a cold day out, and I'm just tinkering out here in the garage. But let's move this back and we'll get this thing set in here. And it fits nice and snug. There she goes. And it's in there nice and snug. Obviously, the barrel's pretty heavy, so it tends to tilt forward, but that's a pretty easy fix. Throw the action screws in here. And you want to make sure that when you're mounting up these actions to these chassis, 65 foot-pounds is where you want to be. You don't want that thing moving around at all. And in my experience, even with the Remingtons in a bedded stock where you've got aluminum pillar beds, 60 to 65 is about perfect. So let's get this tightened up.